Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to be creating with you again today, and we're actually completing the fourth and final layout in our four-part video series, Creating with Our For Always collection. Today we're going to complete this single page. It's a beautiful page, and I happen to use photos of my husband and myself in this layout, and I'm so excited to be able to complete the full workshop with all of you. I did a review of all of the materials in the For Always collection that we're using, including this black and white pattern paper, the 12 by 12 sticker sheet that's drawing in the desert rose, the toffee, the rosemary, the mist, the black and French vanilla, and we're using those two stamp sets that we used in the previous three videos, which is the backgrounds stamp set, which has 3 different stamps in it, and the Love Doily stamp set, which has 2 word stamps and the doily, as well as all the coordinating cardstocks. Now, if you are just jumping on to this 4th video in the series and you want to go back to the beginning to be able to create with me from videos 1 through 3, which cover the first 3 layouts, I'll link those videos here in the description. All of the supplies are listed in the description, and how you get the free guide is also listed in the description. So let's get started today on this gorgeous single page layout. We're going to start first by doing a little bit of prep work on some of the pieces. So we have a couple of the French vanilla pieces, and we're going to need the word stamp, the Love Doily stamp, the rosemary ink, and the blending brush, and we're going to also be using the background stamps. So we're going to flip our Versamat over and add our all-purpose mat. We're going to rub our blending brush into the rosemary ink, and we're going to take the longer piece of the French vanilla cardstock that we've cut, and we're going to just basically rub it with ink. We're going to be doing some additional stamping over the top of this piece, but we're going to give it a really nice glow by rubbing that rosemary ink over the top. Now we're going to take our word stamp and a scrap piece of paper, and we're actually going to be stamping first and second generation ink, and we're going to be moving this word stamp back and forth so that we're alternating between first and second generation stamping. So I did cover second generation stamping in the first 3 videos, but it's basically where you're going to ink up your stamp, stamp off on scratch paper, and then stamp again in a lighter tone. So we're literally going dark tone, light tone, dark tone, light tone, and I'm moving all over so that certain parts of the word start in different segments. And it's just a wonderfully fun way to make a really beautiful element on your page just with a simple little word stamp. It's so amazing how much detail you can add to a layout by just simply using a little bit of inking, rubbing with the ink, and doing a little bit of tone stamping. I love being able to add 2 colors to a workshop with just 1 ink color by doing the second generation stamping. So we're just going to continue with this piece all the way up. Much of this piece is going to be covered, but it's going to overlap down on the bottom of the page a little bit where it's peeking through, and it will peek through a little bit on the sides, and it'll just really be a beautiful piece to have in the background. So we're just going to continue back and forth, stamping off for that second generation, moving to different spots so that the words aren't starting in the same spot on each line, just kind of leaving a little space in between. I don't measure at all on this piece. I'm just simply working my way back and forth to what looks pleasing to my eye. And no matter what way, if your stamping is completely different from mine and not in line with mine, it's still going to look lovely. Now we're going to take the smaller French vanilla piece, and there's some second generation stamping with the background stamp in the background in intense black, and then we actually are going to stamp a part of a doily in rosemary over the top of that. So I'm going to ink up the diagonal background stamp in the intense black, and we're simply going to put a small amount of that on the left side of this piece, but we're going to stamp off first, and then we're going to stamp again on the left side. And I would say it's a good portion of that, maybe not quite all of that stamp, the thickness of all of it, but almost all of it, like a better part of 3/4 of that. And then of course we're going to wipe off our all-purpose mat. We're going to ink the Love Doily in the rosemary ink, and most of this is going to be covered, but we're going to stamp in 2nd generation rosemary right over the top of the intense black 2nd generation stamping. And you're going to see that some of that is going to be covered up by pattern paper, by cardstock pieces, and by decorative elements as well. And it's just such a neat technique for some of it to be peeking out. Now we're going to do a little bit of work on the rosemary base page. But before we do, we're going to place our large French vanilla piece at about 1.5 inches. So if you look at the top right corner and the left corner, we're going to be measuring about 1.5 inches on both of those, but I actually drew that pencil line, and I'm going to do some stamping along that pencil line with 2 different background stamps. So again, we're stamping on the back of our Versamat with the all-purpose mat over the top. We're using rosemary ink, and we're going to add that diagonal onto the edge, both the right edge and the bottom edge, where I put both of those pencil marks. And so they're going to peek out from underneath the French vanilla piece. So I'm going to stamp it off again, and I'm going to stamp along that pencil line on a diagonal. And then I'm going to repeat that on the bottom, stamp it off, and then stamp along the bottom again, and going to stamp that diagonal along the bottom. And then we're going to actually stamp over the top of that with the floral in full strength ink. So that was 2nd generation diagonal, and now we're going to add the floral background stamp a little bit on the edge. We're not going to cover the whole diagonal stamp. We're just going to stamp on the edge, and it makes such a gorgeous, just a interesting piece on the edge that is such a fun visual element when we add all the rest of the pieces. So now we're going to do some black lines with our journaling pen on the outside of the French vanilla piece. I'm actually just going to use my T ruler. Now on the first 3 layouts, we were actually hand drawing lines with our journaling pen, and we were wanting them to be not so perfect. We were just creating those journal lines freehand. So for this one, I'm going to go a little straighter. So I'm actually using my T ruler because it's longer than 12 inches, and I'm simply creating these journaling lines all the way around the outer edge of the French vanilla. So we're going to go up and down all the way around and just create that box with the black marker all the way around this piece. And it's just going to define it a little bit and add another little element. I've talked about this in the first 3 videos, how it's just a very economical way to add interest to a page. All right, now that we are done with that piece, we are actually going to do a little bit more of the same on the rosemary base, and we're actually going to use white gel pen for this one. And we're going to do double lines. Again, this is a complete personal preference. So if you're not liking this technique, or it's not a technique that you would typically choose, you know, you don't have to add it, but I think it does add a wonderful element. So you see that I'm lining up the T ruler again, And I believe we're going at the 1/4 inch mark all the way around, and then we're going to the 1/2 inch mark all the way around. So you're going to create your box with your white gel pen all the way around the rosemary, and then you're going to create another inner box all the way around again. That's 1/4 of an inch smaller. And sometimes I just like to go up and down, and it does make it look a little more distressed. Sometimes if you run your pen too heavy, if you push too hard, you won't get that nice white gel. If you're actually just more gentle and you're making sure, I usually kind of go more up and down with the gel pen. I don't know if you can see how I'm holding it more straight up and down. And it seems like I get better coverage with the gel on the tip than if I'm slanted or if I'm pressing really, really hard. I'm actually pressing quite lightly. So now we're just continuing to get the double lines, and I think that's a really neat look. I'm so happy that you've been creating with me and that we are getting the last layout of the series done. 7 pages in total and 4 layouts. It's such a gorgeous collection, and this is a Bring Back Your Pack collection that is going to be available, I believe, through July 31st while supplies last. It started here on the 15th of June, and I was not a maker actually when this collection debuted, but it is bringing back lots of nostalgia for makers everywhere. So in the first part of the series, we did create the star doily clusters that I've been calling flower clusters. I'm showing you here that you can create a smaller photo if you wish. So on my my master is a photo of my husband and we had taken our pictures below some old railroad tracks. And I created that to be the size in this particular layout, but I created the second one showing you that you could actually use a smaller photo if you so choose, and then have a wider frame around it. That rosemary mat makes a wider frame, so if you would like to have a smaller photo in there, it's absolutely no problem. So basically what I have done here is I've literally just added the 2 stamped pieces that we stamped and the 2 pattern paper pieces, centered those on the French vanilla piece, and then mounted the photo mat and the photo place card holder with foam tape on the top of those squares. So it couldn't be any easier. There's really no technique to that. You simply center those 4 squares with the stamped square that we stamped with our sentiments hanging down a little bit lower, so it's a different size than the other 4 squares, popping up your photo in the center, adding those doily stars, adding that sticker, the circle sticker, popping that up a little bit. And just a reminder from the first 3 videos that those floral stars, the doily stars, are 1 single star popped up with foam tape in the middle with another star on top and 3 clear gems. So I'm adding 2 clusters, and then I'm adding a 3rd single, and I'm sliding that single underneath the 2 clusters so it just barely peeks out from underneath, and I just love that cluster on the bottom. It's super gorgeous. And we're going to be adding our word stickers. We're going to also be adding a little bit of that chevron strip over on the left side. Now, to create this circle, I didn't want to bother the words, so I'm just simply trimming off the rounded top to be able to add a round element to mostly square and rectangle elements. So I'm going to add the the chevron strip, tuck that under the left side a little bit. I believe I did do a little bit of tearing at the bottom and the top of that strip. We're going to tuck that under. I told you this was our easy one. This one is just coming together in no time flat. It's such an easy layout. It would be such an easy layout to recreate with your stash, simply layering the squares on top of the square, adding added interest with a little bit of stamping and a little bit of drawn lines is really the bulk and the gist of this layout. So I'm just tucking this under a little bit under the French vanilla edge, and then now I'm going to be able to add that little round piece that I trimmed off of the sticker. I love to use multiple bits off of one sticker. It isn't uncommon for me to use 3 different parts of one sticker in different areas on layouts to stretch embellishments. And sometimes you never really need that much. You just need a tiny little bit peeking through. And so I love doing that without being able to ruin the rest of the sticker, and you can still use the rest of the sticker in different places. So now I'm adding the clear gems and the finishing touches, and I absolutely love this layout. I hope that you love it too, and you did it. You have created all 4 layouts in this 4 layout series, and this is the final and 4th video in the series. You did it! Congratulations! I hope you enjoyed this series. I would love for you to hit subscribe, like, and comment. Your comments and your input goes a long way on YouTube, and I would love to hear what you liked about this series and if you'd like to have another. Thank you so much for watching. Happy scrapping, everyone. Thanks for spending time with me. Bye-bye.